Who is Robert Mueller? Born in 1923, he may be most well known for his role as Assistant Secretary General of the United Nations, or perhaps for his founding and developing of the United Nations University of Peace in Costa Rica. But it is his spirituality that led him to take on these jobs. This man had a spiritual purpose. He was on a mission, essentially to strive for world peace. Sounds good on the surface, but let's go deeper. He also believed in creating a global education curriculum. His ideals, his spiritual ideals. Well, he has been called the philosopher and the prophet of hope of the United Nations. Robert Mueller is known as a deeply spiritual person. What spirit? Which spirit are you talking about? It's not enough to say you're spiritual today. Which spirit are you talking about? So from his vantage point, top-level global statesperson, he has seen a strong connection between spirituality and the political/cultural scene. Here's a quote. He says, "Decide to open yourself to God." Once again, what does he mean by God? We're going to find out very quickly. This is not God of the Bible. This is a man-made God. He says, "Decide to open yourself to God, to the universe, to all your brethren and sisters, to your inner self, to the potential of the human race, to the infinity of your inner self will become the universe. You will become the universe. You will become infinity, and you will be at long last your real and divine, stupendous self." Right off the bat, we can see what spirit it actually is that's driving this person. So is this what we want our children to be influenced by? I mean, some of you may be thinking, that sounds good. That sounds right. Yeah, maybe my children should be influenced to become infinity. Just keep listening. Here's an excerpt from Mueller's 1989 UNESCO Prize for Peace Education. He says, "I pray that all human beings on this earth become instruments of peace, thus fulfilling the cosmic function deeply engraved in each of us and for which we were born and allowed to live temporarily on this beautiful planet in the vast universe and eternal stream of time. This peace of the world is the sum total of the peace of all individuals." It's gobbledygook. The peace of the world is the sum total of the peace of all individuals. It's flighty, and it sounds like, well, how could you take someone like this seriously? Well, this man was the Secretary General, the Assistant Secretary General of the United Nations. This is the man who developed the United Nations University of Peace in Costa Rica. This is the man who was known as the philosopher and the prophet of hope at the United Nations. He is in position, or was in position. What type of peace? What is this peace? So what philosophies and prophecies of hope does this internationally influential political and spiritual leader bring to the world? Let's see. According to the preface of Robert Mueller's World Core Curriculum, it says, "The underlying philosophy upon which the Robert Mueller School is based will be found in the teachings set forth in the books of Alice A. Bailey." Bells ringing now? This is where we get directly into where we can draw a direct line from Common Core Curriculum directly to Luciferianism. Alice Bailey was a Luciferian. Everyone following in those footsteps is following in the same tradition. It should not be surprising then that Mueller's World Core Curriculum is discussed in United Nations circles as an innocent and useful education tool. At the United Nations 56th Annual DPI NGO Conference in September 2003, a workshop explained how Mueller, quote, "developed a core curriculum to teach the whole child," unquote. It discusses how Mueller's curriculum, quote, "included hygiene, gardening, vocational training, marketing, entrepreneurship, as well as values and respect." Respect for what? What was not mentioned here was the level of seriousness of the presence of occult and New Age philosophies and practices that are just rife, spread throughout Robert Mueller's program. First, Robert Mueller School, as they're known, opened in 1979 with dozens more following. Thousands of people now use his program. So what are the key points of Mueller's message that he wants everyone on the earth to know and subscribe to? First of all, two major points here. Here's spirituality and the idea of unity. So under the heading of spirituality, Muller believes in the divinity of humanity, that man is God. God lives inside of man. That is Muller's view. That is clearly the New Age, pagan idea, the Luciferian idea of divinity. That is the original lie from Genesis 3 in the Garden of Eden. Clearly a subscriber to the idea that man is God. In other words, this is Gnostic teaching, and to a Gnostic, the Bible is inverted. So if you look at what happened in the Garden of Eden, the serpent is the hero. That's how Gnosticism works. That's what we're seeing here. This New Age set of ideals that we see today, founded on paganism. So it's neo-paganism centered around Gnosticism. Muller was deeply influenced by Pierre Teilhard de Chardin, a Jesuit priest who taught that all of humanity would eventually meld into one super being through the coming of the cosmic Christ. This is a Catholic priest. To be clear, I'm not talking about any individuals. I'm talking about de Chardin because we can see what he believed. We don't know the hearts of people inside the Catholic Church system. But overall, the Catholic Church system, this is an accepted belief that there is a coming cosmic Christ, a consciousness of Christ, not a real Jesus Christ in a second coming, but a consciousness. Muller's world curriculum framework includes teaching on spiritual exercises of interiority. In other words, meditation, going inside yourself to find God. Also, meditation, prayer, communication with the universe. These spiritual exercises, meditation and mystic communication, are clearly and obviously marks of New Age spirituality. The thought movement, the New Gospel. There are many names that the New Age operates under today, but this is the belief system. It hasn't changed. According to the United Nations Online, the scope of the World Core Curriculum will always be the same: to allow the student to see himself truly as an integral part of the cosmos. At the moment, it seems the only limitation will be the imagination of the cosmic-minded and spiritually oriented teaching staff. We shouldn't forget also what the World Core Curriculum itself tells us about Muller's source of inspiration. So we've seen that Alice Bailey, Boutant, Pierre Teilhard de Chardin, Jesuit priest, Boutant, the globalist, socialist, and Alice Bailey, the Luciferian, the channeler. So the underlying philosophy upon which the Robert Muller School is based, found in the teachings set forth in the books of Alice Bailey and her Tibetan teacher, Jwaj Kul. This is not a real man. This is an entity. Alice Bailey's writings were channeled from an entity. The company in which those books were published under was known as the Lucifer Trust, known today as the Lucis Trust. And the teaching of Moria as given in the Ajni Yoga series of books. So Alice Bailey, the Luciferian channeler of satanic spirits, is at the core of Common Core. She's at the heart of the Common Core system. And Lucis Trust is affiliated with United Nations non-governmental organizations. In fact, Lucis Trust gained consultative status with the United Nations in 1989. So what spirit is controlling the United Nations? Is it God? Is it God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? Is it the God who sent his Son into the world? Not that God. This is the man-made New Age cosmic Christ. It's the deception straight from Satan. Can't deny it. It cannot be denied. Okay, so that is a little bit about Robert Muller's spirituality. So when he says he wants to teach the kids about a part of the curriculum, of the core curriculum, is to teach a sense of spirituality so that the kids will understand that they can communicate directly with the cosmos, the universe. Now, what about this unity? What sort of unity is Muller speaking of? What sort of unity is taught in this core curriculum? Well, along with the New Age spirituality, Muller's core curriculum teaches a socialist political unity established under the United Nations. Here is something that Muller has said specifically about that. Quote, quote, history will prove that Gloria, Crook, Lutant, and the United Nations were right. The quicker all educators and media will listen to them, the quicker we will get out of the present confusion and find a new, promising way of our progress and evolution. So it's a contradiction, but at the core, you have the spirituality, which is New Age, Luciferian, and you have the unity, which is a socialist, political. According to New Man magazine, is meant to, quote, steer our children toward global citizenship, earth-centered beliefs, socialist values, and the collective mindset which is becoming a requirement for the 21st century workforce. What's obviously going to be taught in Common Core, they're going to teach our children to be global citizens, to treat your government as God, as your God. It's a conflicting message because in the spirituality, they claim to teach you to find God within yourself, but on the other side, the unity aspect, government is your God. So is this where we want to steer our children? Is this towards socialism? Is that really what's best? Toward Luciferianism and socialism and satanic-inspired globalism? Is that what we want for our children?